It's currently like 40 degrees outside, but I haven't done a video in so long that I feel like I just have to come out and shoot something. I took a look online, and evidently there's this company called Impossible that's both refurbishing old Polaroid cameras from the 80s and remaking the instant film that goes into these guys. So I thought it'd be a great idea, as somebody who was born in the 90s, to take a camera that was most prevalent in the 80s and just see if we can get some shots done. Make a stranger laugh, it says. That's a bit odd. Don't know if I want to do that. However, I am going to put this into my camera, and I think we just slide in this way. Oh, yeah, that's correct. But that make a stranger laugh thing comes right out. So that's obviously just a cover card. Alright, so it went from kind of sunny, enjoyable outside to like dead gloomy in about the 20 minutes it took me to drive into DC. I went down to the Block, which is this little like Asian collaboration of stores. It's like Thai street food and Asian milk tea and like shaved ice and stuff like that. The issue with that place is because there only seats like 40 people, completely packed to the brim. I got this like ice cream sandwich where it's like they stick ice cream between donuts. I posted it on my Instagram, but I felt like an absolute psycho talking into my camera there because I was just like surrounded by people. One of the best things about being down by the water is it feels way colder. So I already can't feel my hands, and now I have to try and fiddle around with this camera. If you're from back in the 80s, or if you were alive back then, I was not, you know what this is. And this is an original one. There's a company called Impossible that refurbishes these things. But anyway, I'm down here in not so historic Georgetown trying to take some photos of stuff. There's a bridge right over here that's having a bit of construction done. So you guys can sort of see this thing in action. And that's how it works. This little film thing that holds it from falling off. Man, it's cold. That's your photo. And these guys take like 10 or 20 minutes to develop. So you don't even know if you took a good photo until much, much later. One of the things that's really great with shooting Polaroids is you don't get an infinite number of photos to shoot with, which I know sounds weird when you've only shot digital photography like I have. If you mess something up, you get 100 extra tries. Who cares? You delete the photos. But with these guys, one cartridge only holds like 11 photos or something like that. So you really have to sort of think about what you take a picture of. I don't find myself taking pictures of like random walls and, you know, like broken whatever just because I think it looks nice. Because, you know, every one of these photos is costing me like 75 cents or something like that. The other thing is there's no, you know, it's quite a simple camera. There's no zoom or anything on this guy. There's a flash that goes off every time. There's a fixed aperture and a fixed focal length. So if I want to get a picture of people who are kind of far away, I have to get closer to them. I wanted to get a shot of all the graffiti and everything that's down here because it's been here for years. But they've closed off this section. You're not allowed on there anymore. Which, to be fair, we probably weren't allowed on there to begin with, but now it's more official. But because this thing's got so much of a zoom on it, I mean, it feels like a 60, 70 millimeter lens on this thing. The glass, anyway. I kind of have to stand back here anyway to get this shot, so it works out. And you gotta remember when you're shooting with this thing, it shoots in sort of a circle. So if you have anything on the top corners or the bottom corners of a photo that you're shooting, it's not gonna get into the frame. They're still taking a while to develop. It takes quite a while for these things to develop. I'll probably have to take a look at it once I get back to the studio. But you can sort of see here, this is the setup of the last one we took. So you can totally go up to somebody, take a completely unflattering picture, give it to them, and then run away. And by the time they find out that you're a shit photographer, it's 20 minutes later and they can't do anything about it. So definitely some usefulness to this. See what happens. There's a clock tower right here. Let me try and get this. Nada. Nothing. The flash goes off, but nothing more. So now I can show you guys how to change this thing out. There's a little button right here that you click up, and then it opens this. And this is the film cartridge. When you're done shooting, there's 8 pictures in there, and then it's just an empty cartridge. This houses both the film that you're going to be shooting with. It's also a battery pack. This is what powers the camera. Without this camera has no power. So if you get a bad one of these, it actually doesn't shoot anything, which I think is really interesting. Make sure you dispose of these correctly. This is the company that makes this film, Impossible. And they use a completely different formula from the original Polaroid film, because nobody can make that original film anymore. But they like work in the same factory and everything, and it's close. I've seen some comparisons online. It's not perfect, but it's close. It's like covered in this metallic foil. You rip it open. There's a bit of literature if you want to read about it. It tells you a little bit about the story of these guys. And then you have another one of these cartridges. Tell me a story. The last one that I had said make a stranger laugh. So I think they've got kind of like the Taco Bell hot sauces where they say something different on every one. You take this guy and then you insert it into your camera right into the same place. Close it up. And then it spits out that front page to tell me a story, and then you've got 8 more photos loaded and ready to go. Now, I'm not really doing a review of this camera. I'm kind of just having fun with the thing, primarily because it's not really something that you review. Yeah, the company's refurbishing these things, but this is a camera from 30 years ago. I mean, even if you've got an iPhone from 5 years ago, you're blowing this thing out of the water in terms of ease of use, functionality, and even overall picture quality. You're getting better colors, better exposure out of your phone than you will out of this thing. But that's not really the point. The point of this guy is that it's vintage. It's kind of cool. You can own a camera that your parents might have probably owned, and it'll work, and it'll take photos just like it did back in the 80s. There is one test that I want to do, though. A test that some people might call the only real test when it comes to photography. The selfie test. So this is probably going to blind me. By the way, if you want these things to develop nicely, don't stick them in your pocket right after you take a picture like I've been doing. They're not going to turn out as good.